Hey, Jason Fladlin here, and if you want to know the stupidest, easiest, dumbest, and maybe the most lucrative way for you to get your foot in the door and start making real money online, I believe that I have it on this video. I'm going to break it down for you. And it came from a breakthrough I first had at late 2007 and really obtained mastery for in 2008. Myself and some of the other people you probably listen to and follow. It's hard for us to remember where we were when we first got that breakthrough. So what I do today is significantly different than what I was doing to get started. In a lot of ways, what I do today is harder and arguably more complicated than it needs to be if we were to get to the mainline root of what really moves the needle or not. And so I've been doing this review of my last 15 years in this business, which in internet marketing years is 160 plus years. And I thought, if I could teach somebody just starting out with even more chaos that exists online today than ever before, what would I really teach them? What would be the thing that I'd want to focus them on? And it's this. It's narrow focus plus instant gratification. Now, to set the stage, where I started to make real money in my first year online in business was I discovered this formula for creating information products. And they were really cheap information products. In fact, the first product I ever sold was $4. The next product I sold was $7. The next product I sold was $7. Then I think I got brave, went up to $9, and then $12, and then $15, and $17. And it took me about 10 information products, maybe a dozen, before I got to about a $47 price point from a PDF perspective, from an ebook perspective. And then I started building video courses, audio courses, and making my life massively complicated to try to sell it at higher prices. And of course, getting the confidence and all that jazz. But when I started I just used the same formula over and over again until I became unconsciously competent in it. And the formula was how to do blank in a very short period of time. So the first product I created was how to write an article in 7 minutes or less. That was it. That was the magic. And the info product was essentially, you want to write an article fast, here's the first thing, here's the second thing, here's the third thing, here's the fourth, there is no fifth thing, you're done. Those are the four things, go at it. And the ebook was a couple pages long, 6-7 pages long, something like that. And I dressed it up later because I learned to be even more narrow is even more effective. How to write a 400-word article in 7 minutes or less, including proofreading and research. So why does that work? We'll get into that here in a second, but let me show you what I did after that. And this is how I built the article writing system. Is I had clients that would hire me and I would write articles for them. So I had the proof that I had this system. I had gotten paid to employ this system, and all I had to do was document a system that I had already previously developed over here and put it in an information form so people over there could benefit from it. I then had clients start hiring me to write sales letters for them. Copywriting, long form sales letters, written sales letters. I don't think there was a video sales letter that even existed back then, and webinars were also in their infancies. And what I had discovered was this gap in the market, and I think you're going to always see this. So this gap is your opportunity to pull in a lot of money. Is the gap in the market is these stone cold pros teaching you the ideal way to do something, and they're divorced from the practicality. So a professional copywriter who would charge $20,000 for a letter is going to give you a formula that would take you 40 to 60 to 80 to 100 hours or more to write the letter. Even worse than the time constraint is they assume you can do things very naturally. So for example, what makes a good sales letter, one of the things is your ability to write really good bullet points. So what I had discovered was this gap. How do we have busy people that aren't professional copywriters be able to write copy, not for hire, but for themselves? Anybody that's in business needs copy of some sort. And so I came up with this product that was how to write a near world-class sales letter in 3 hours or less. And again, that just came from my maniacal focus on how can I, myself, as a busy business owner, design that system for myself first? How can I have a very specific approach that isn't perfect? And I even called it out. Even the article writing product, same kind of concept. We weren't writing world-class articles. We were writing search engine food. Because back in 2007, all the rage was if you published these articles in this directory called Easy in Articles directory, you got traffic. The articles just had to be a little bit better than average, and they had to have the right keyword density inside of them so you can get that traffic from Google. That was it. And so we weren't trying to do world-class anything. People want good enough, but they want it done in 20% of the time. It's true in every market. As it existed in 2007 and it existed in 1997. It existed in 1897, and it will continue to exist in 3027 if we're still alive at that point in time. And so what's the 80-20 of the deal? What are the few things that somebody can do in a systematic fashion that can shave off 80% of their time and be good enough? You do this in any market and it will work really well. So I did this with how to write a sales letter. And it was really simple. I said, I'll model for you an example of how to build these these systems. I went out and I spent about 4 or 5 hours one day looking at what were considered successful sales letters, and I look at their headlines and I say, is there a pattern here? There is a pattern here. I could categorize 80% of headlines into one of 5 buckets. I said it either does this, it does that, or there's miscellaneous. I don't care about the miscellaneous. If I'm going to sit down and create a sales letter, it's going to be one of these 4 types of headlines. The lead of a sales letter, essentially the first paragraph or 2. There's only so many ways you can get attention. So I said, I've noticed over and over again, these are the 4 attention-getting devices that are employed in these sales letters. So I will use these. And then you go to bullet points. I noticed with bullet points is there was a formula for those as well. They're not the best bullet points you would ever read, but they're pretty good and you can get them done right away with a guarantee. The guarantee is essentially framed one of these 4 ways. So I'm just going to pick one and I'm not going to spend too much time thinking about it. So that's how I developed that system. I also created another product called How to Create an Information Product in 48 Hours or Less on a topic you know nothing about. So narrow focus, very specific outcome. And again, we dress it up on a topic you know nothing about is because the objection in the market was, what if I'm not an expert? But we're selling speed. And then the one that popped off the most, and some of this is just timing, was how to set up a fully functional membership site in 6 minutes or less using completely free software. That thing ended up producing millions of dollars for me on the back of that because I acquired so many customers. I got so many affiliates to promote that offer because it was just the flavor of the month or the year practically. It was so hot at that point in time, but it was a very specific. The big thing then as now was a big outcome of money. You do this, you'll make a whole bunch of money. You do that, you make a whole bunch of money. None of my products ever had a focus on money. They all had a focus on time, how to save a bunch of time. Because if you save somebody 20 hours a week, they'll pay you $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10. They'll gamble that. And that's the formula there. And it doesn't have to be in the business space alone. How do I do something not perfect, but good enough and shave off 80% of the learning curve, shave off 80% of the effort, shave off 80% of the time? People will gamble on the outside chance that that might work. And so we don't make them money with these products. We save them money. And I don't know if you know about loss aversion, but here's the example that I always learn is people, if they lose $10 out of their pocket, that hurts way more than if they find $10 on the ground and pick it up in terms of pleasure. You got to find like $50 on the ground to have the same amount of pleasure offset the $10 you would lose out of your pocket. It's disproportional. The pain of loss is significantly greater in quantity and quality than the pleasure of gain. And so it's actually preferable for people to save money in most markets than it is for them to make money. And whether they know it or not, because most of them don't know it. So time is money. If you could reduce the time it already takes someone to do something, then the value is obvious. You don't have to be very good as a salesperson. You don't have to articulate that even, and you'll get the benefit of it. And the other reason why these products work so good is you don't have to be better at something. You just have to be faster. So when I taught the article writing product, I didn't teach them how to necessarily write better articles, although most people ended up writing better articles. I didn't try to make them better at the craft. I just made them more efficient. My goal wasn't to have people create a better membership site per se, just a more efficient one. If it took them 3 days to set it up before and they spent $300 on software and now they can set it up in 1 hour and they didn't spend any in software, it's so hard to improve someone's skill level. It's so much harder to do that than it is for them just to be more efficient at the current skill level. And people will pay $5 or $10 or $20 just to shave off an hour here, an hour there. Now, the other important thing here is the specificity of the product, the narrowing of the focus. So when I was creating the article writing product, it was only for people that were specifically looking to use e-zine articles. The only purpose of the membership product was just to get people done and up and going with the membership site, because what I noticed was a lot of people would try to configure a membership site and the technology would be the thing that would stop them the most. The purpose of the sales letter was just to get people to get a finished sales letter because they couldn't get over the hump. They could never get one done. And that was a hardcore narrow focus. It wasn't even necessarily how to make money with these sales letters. It wasn't even necessarily that you were going to go out and get hired as a professional. It was on your to-do list. There's a sales letter. You've never been able to check that off. Let me help you check that off. Hyper-specific focus. The more specific you are with something, the easier it is to be believed that you can solve that problem. Whether that's true or not doesn't matter. Perception is reality in marketing. So when you're calling a very specific focus to something, the natural inclination is that you must know more about it than anybody else because you're more specific with it than anybody else is. And that's super powerful. The other thing that's really useful about being hyper specific or narrow is big businesses, big brands in most niches and industries, they're not willing to go down to the puddles. They want to swim in the oceans because there's not a huge amount of money for these big businesses in the puddles. Now, it's all relative. To a multi-millionaire, making $10,000 a month is a pay cut. It is often not worth the time. They will intentionally step over pockets of tens of thousands of dollars because it would slow them down to reach out and pick them up. They're lost your game. Those are gaps in the marketplace that everybody is overlooking, that if you are just in them, you can have success because you're the only service provider. That is your blue ocean, so to speak. And if you're trying to go toe-to-toe with some of the big dogs, you don't have the resources often that they have. And so you're at a huge disadvantage. So you want to balance the scales by going into these pockets of opportunity that everybody else is neglecting because it's only $10,000. It's only $20,000. Now, if you think, Jason, I don't want to sell $5 or $10 ebooks, I'm going to tell you why that's going to make you a whole bunch more money than any other way that I know of here in a second when you're starting out or if you have yet to get customers. There is some hidden profit to that most people overlook. But to really narrow down the narrow focus to button this up, the more specific you are, the more believable you are, and also fuzzy targets just don't get hit. So it's harder for you to create a product with a successful outcome. It's harder for you to develop an information product that has immense value if you yourself don't have a clearly defined outcome, a target that can be hit. And so I love creating these information products because they were easier for me to create because I just had to satisfy the objective. I got to teach a system that can do this in this amount of time. So it removed all the noise and distraction for me when I sat down to create those products. So it was easier for me to create the products and they were better products as a result with a narrow focus. So it serves you and your audience. Now, let's talk about price. Because I know some people are like, Jason, I got to sell a lot of products. It's a low price. I've watched you. You normally don't sell anything for anything less than a whole bunch of money these days. It's true. I just had a client recently come to me and I started doing consulting again reluctantly. And these are only for successful businesses, generally multiple seven-figure businesses that I take on the idea of even doing any consulting at all. I charge $25,000 a day to do consulting gigs, and I only allow myself to do at most 10 a year. And one of these clients, he was at an event that I was running recently in Vegas that also cost $25,000 to be a part of this mastermind. And it's amazing because you say, well, who'd pay $25,000 to attend a mastermind? Well, a guy who would also pay $25,000 to do consulting. So it's the opposite of what most people believe. The more people start investing with you, and especially if you serve them, the more capacity they have to invest with you again in the future. But that's neither here nor there. What happens is he comes up to me on day 2 of the seminar and he says, Jason, I'm thinking May for our next consult. I go, because in my head, I'm like, I got to look at my schedule. I got to see if it makes sense. I don't want to slow down and do it. I know we're going to do the consult anyway. So I had that hesitation where I just go, and he goes, 40K? And I go, we're doing May. And so for this client, it was worth above market rate of $40,000 for a single day of consulting. And my clients, they come to me. I don't go to them. So they pay for their own flights there. They even pay for the camera crew that comes in and records the whole thing because we give them a nice professional recording. Where am I going with this? I can only charge up to now $40,000 a day or do these $25,000 per attendee masterminds. The only way I can get to that level is because I first took customers at a small scale and got them wins. And then I traded up. It's incredibly challenging to do it any other way because you don't have any momentum. I don't care if somebody starts off their business relationship with you paying $1 or paying you $10,000. Until somebody pays you, there is no momentum. Once somebody pays you, there is momentum. And believe it or not, there is not much difference in momentum from somebody who pays you a small amount and a large amount of money. If you follow the formula that I just described, these are super short products that people can consume very easily in 30 to 60 minutes, immediately apply something as a result of trying them out, and usually get an immediate improvement in the quality of their life. And so if you sell enough of these, because people will impulsively snap these up and purchase these, so you can get the masses. Within those masses, there's always going to be a small percent, yet highly relevant percent of people who say, well, I paid you $5 and you just did something super helpful for me. I'm also successful. What else do you got? And then they're very much the ones that will dictate the types of things you do in the future. Just like my client dictated me to do consulting in May when I didn't want to. I want to put you in that position where people are convincing you that they should give you money, as opposed to you trying to convince them to give you money. And the only way you get there is you start off with service. Small products, small price points, they get customers, which create momentum, which also allows you to get your competencies level up gradually, as opposed to just this tall leap to the top of the building. We take the stairs, we go up one level at a time, and then you get into a point where you will have demand that will exceed your supply, and that will naturally fix the prices to be appropriate to the value that you provide. But let's get out there, let's sell product, let's serve people, let's help them. The easiest formula is how to do something extremely specific that the marketplace wants in a very short period of time, where we give them an outcome that's good enough. We don't make them better, we just make them faster and more efficient. You do that, you focus on it like I did for a year, and that is how you can go from hawking $4 products to doing $57 million launches as we've done. There you go, noodle on that, tell me your thoughts. I'll see you in the next video.